The MC of this story, Gislin Peridium, is infamous for being a wild and uncontrollable sword master, a guy who's often locked away in his room, supposedly out of his mind. And on top of all that, he's known as the worthless eldest son of Count Peridium. With titles like that, you'd expect him to be just another pampered noble brat. But that's far from the truth. At least not anymore. His opponent is starting to figure that out the hard way. This bearded guy facing Gislin can't believe what's happening. He's getting thoroughly beaten by someone he thought was just useless scum. Meanwhile, Gislin is calm and collected, cool as ever during the fight. Internally, he's actually satisfied because all the money he dumped into setting up this trap is finally showing results. With a smirk, Gislin asks the bearded man if he's enjoying the unexpected twist. That only pisses a guy off more, because it feels like Gislin knew exactly how things were going to play out. And guess what? Gislin proudly admits it. He didn't just anticipate the enemy's plan. He knew everything from the start. The number of soldiers, the identity of the spies who provided reinforcements. He had it all figured out. The bearded man is stunned. He starts yelling, furious that his secret weapon has been exposed by someone he once dismissed as worthless. But Gislin isn't in the mood for his whining. He shuts him up with a solid kick to the face, making it clear this guy can scream all he wants. But no matter how many fights break out, Gislin is confident he'll come out on top every single time. So, how is he so sure of winning? Simple, because he knows everything. Let's rewind for a second. Almost a year ago, in the kingdom of Lithuania near the Peridium estate, Gislin Peridium woke up in pure shock. He was alive, but he shouldn't have been. The last thing he remembered was being in the middle of a hopeless battle, squaring off against one of the continent's elite 7 noble knights, a man named Adwan, the one who was supposed to kill him. Now, Gislin wasn't just some random nobody either. He used to be one of the top 7 mercenary kings on the continent, feared and respected everywhere under the name Gislin Peridium. Before ending Gislin's life, Adwan mocked him, saying he never expected to see the trash of the fallen Peridium family again. From what Adwan knew, Gislin had vanished after his sister's death, and his name had become nothing but a fading memory. That threw Gislin off. He asked how the hell Adwan knew so much about his past. Adwan told him he'd been tracking him for a long time, because he was one of the people involved in the destruction of the Peridium family. He had worked alongside the Deline household to bring him down. Hearing one of them made Gislin freeze. That meant the Deline household hadn't acted alone. There were others who played a role in his family's ruin, and now one of those people was standing right in front of him. His hatred and thirst for revenge surged like never before, and then Adwan cut his head clean off. But strangely, Gislin later woke up whole, unharmed, and very much alive. Not only was his body intact with no sign of injury, but he even looked noticeably younger. He looks around, clearly confused about what's going on. Just then, someone calls out to him, addressing him as young master and urging him to come out. The man is actually a soldier from the Peridium household, Ricardo. But before Ricardo can say much, he finds a sharp sword aimed at his neck as Gislin demands answers immediately. Ricardo, clueless about the situation, agrees to answer whatever his master asks, though he can't understand why a sword is necessary for a conversation. Even Gislin is caught off guard by Ricardo's reaction. After all, this was supposed to be an enemy. Ricardo pulls himself free from Gislin's grip and reminds him that he had collapsed from exhaustion earlier after throwing tantrum. He'd been stressing out over how to lead a raid on the orcs. Naturally, this explanation makes zero sense to Gislin. Then Ricardo tells him to grab his stuff and head out because everyone's waiting outside. Gislin, still lost, asks where they're going. Ricardo informs him they're heading to the Peridium estate. Hearing his family name shocks Gislin. As far as he knows, that estate was destroyed, but as they reach a hill overlooking it, he gets a clear view, and it's unmistakably the Peridium estate, fully intact. He had once seen it burn to ground, and now here it stands. Ricardo, a bit confused, mumbles under his breath, wondering why his master keeps referring to his own home as if it had fallen. If the Count hears that, there could be consequences. Try and make sense of it. Gislin pinches his cheek, hoping this is just a dream, but the pain is real. That's when it hits him. He's younger now. The estate is untouched, and everything seems to have gone back to how it was, which means he's traveled back in time. Back then, his younger self was resentful toward the family. That immaturity, rooted in feelings of inferiority, caused endless trouble. Eventually, people in the household started avoiding him, and unable to handle the criticism, he ran away. Years later, he became a mercenary, survived brutal battles, honed his skills, and earned a name for himself. He returned to Peridium, hoping to make amends, but by then, the estate had already been reduced to ashes. He had lost everything, but now somehow it's all back. Everyone he cared about is still alive. He's overwhelmed, realizing he's been given another chance. But there's no time to celebrate. From what Ricardo mentioned, they're on their way to raid the orcs. And Ghislain remembers this day all too well. It was a day nearly everyone in his squad died. In his past life, he had joined the orc raid squad to prove himself. The report back then had mentioned only 3 orcs. So Ghislain, with no command experience, thought it'd be easy peasy. But when they arrived, they were ambushed by over 20 orcs. Because of his recklessness and pride, most of the squad was wiped out. Right now, RMC feels pretty confident that the situation is manageable, mainly because those orcs don't seem to have any real tactics. But the real issue is whether his soldiers will actually trust him, considering they all think he's just some worthless loser. Unfortunately, he doesn't even get a moment to prepare because, out of nowhere, a watchtower gets completely wiped out as a massive horde of orcs comes charging in. Ghislain is absolutely stunned by the sudden attack. He hadn't expected these creatures to strike so soon. The orcs are tearing to the soldiers like it's nothing, and each one is powerful enough to wipe out multiple foot soldiers single-handedly. Raid Squad Commander Scoven jumps into fray and shouts for everyone to form a defensive line. But honestly, it looks like no formation or tactic is going to stop these savage beasts, who are slaughtering people nonstop. Even Scoven is convinced they're doomed. Getting ambushed like this with zero preparation is just brutal. And to make things worse, there are way more of these monsters than anyone expected. With the way things are spiraling, Scoven is sure they're all going to die. Then suddenly, someone shouts at the commander. When Scoven turns around, he sees a massive beast about to crush him with its axe. He barely has time to react. That's when Ghislain lunges in, yanks Scoven out of harm's way, and slices straight through the monster's hand, like it's just a cucumber. Everyone is left speechless. How the hell did Ghislain pull that off so effortlessly when he's supposed to be the useless one? The beast collapses while Ghislain mutters in irritation about still not being able to use mana. He walks up to Commander, offers his hand, and demands command over the troops. But Scoven refuses flatly. He doesn't believe a so-called worthless brat should be leading during such a dire moment. He even asks Ghislain if he thinks this is some kind of game, even if Ghislain is the young master. Scoven says he can't just hand over authority given by the Lord so easily. But Ghislain had already guessed that no one would believe in him, and now he's getting pissed. Just then, another monster charges at them, and Scoven steps in, thinking Ghislain is too inexperienced to handle this. But Ghislain decides it's time to shut these idiots up and show them what he can really do. He throws a sword at the beast with insane speed. The commander immediately starts yelling at him for disobeying orders, but shuts right up when he sees the orc drop dead from a single hit. It's clear the sword struck with terrifying precision. The commander stands there, looking like he's suffering from a serious case of constipation. Meanwhile, Ghislain stares at him and asks if he even knows the most crucial thing in battle. Of course, the commander doesn't, because clearly he's the real useless one here. Ghislain shifts his focus toward the frightened soldiers and reminds Scoven that there's no way to win a battle when fear has already taken over the troops. The first step should be gaining momentum. With that, our guy dashes forward once more, yanks his sword from the monster's skull, and launches himself into the air. He lands squarely on another orc and drives his blade straight into its head. Scoven can hardly believe what he's seeing. Meanwhile, our boy boldly challenges the monsters, taunting them to come at him if they want to die. Predictably, these brainless beasts charge at him, and he slices through them with the precision and speed of a ninja on an energy rush, tearing apart every single one that dares cross his path. His movements, reflexes, everything is happening at such incredible speed that Scoven is left frozen, staring in total disbelief. Even as a mana user, he can't keep up. So he can't begin to fathom how his skinny young master is pulling the underscore off. Scoven notices that despite the obvious signs of fatigue, our guy is still evading attacks with the bare minimum of motion, and his sword strikes land perfectly on the enemy's weak points, like a master swordsman who can't even use mana, or maybe even someone beyond that level. But our MC isn't done. He keeps provoking the monsters, mocking them for being nothing like the fearsome warrior race they're rumored to be. The other soldiers are just as stunned, watching as every single orc charges toward the young master. They turn to their commander, waiting for orders, but the coward doesn't even come close to showing the kind of guts our boy has. He's still trying to process the fact that the young master deliberately charged into a swarm of orcs just to draw their attention. He doesn't get why he's now running straight toward the edge of cliff, but it soon clicks. Gislen plans to lure the orcs off the cliff. Acting fast, Scoven orders his troops to raise their shield wall and prepare to back him up. Meanwhile, the orcs are right behind our guy, chasing him down. MC trusts that Scoven, being the capable commander he is, will catch on to the plan. As much as he'd love to hack every one of these orcs to pieces himself, he just doesn't have the stamina. But this plan isn't bad either. At the cliff's edge, the orcs realize too late that soldiers are waiting behind them in defensive formation. Without hesitation, our guy leaps off the cliff, signaling Scoven to follow through. The soldiers charge in and slam into monsters, shoving them off the cliff to their brutal deaths below. The risky move works, and every last orc is eliminated. Though drained, the soldiers pull through. Scoven is still frozen in shock when he spots our MC clinging to the cliffside, his sword jammed into the rock to hold himself up. Even in this situation, there's no fear on his face, only a confident smirk aimed directly at Scoven. For a second, the big mustache commander is thrown off, but then a proud smile spreads across his face. He quickly reaches out a hand, but it falls just short. The grip on the sword loosens, and just like that, the boy starts to fall, leaving everyone stunned by the sudden twist. Meanwhile, Gislen begins slipping into unconsciousness, drifting into a dreamlike state where he hears his sister's voice and sees scattered fragments of memories involving her. He doesn't quite understand what's happening until suddenly she grabs his hand. And just like that, he's pulled out of the dream. He jolts awake in bed, confused and shocked that he's even alive. As he tries to sit up, a wave of pain rushes through his entire body, making even the smallest movements agonizing. Every inch of him aches, a harsh reminder how far he pushed himself. But in a strange way, it reassures him that he survived. At that moment, a maid enters the room with a relieved smile. It takes him just a second to realize it's Belinda. She's clearly both happy and upset, scolding him for all the stress he caused. But Gislen doesn't hesitate. He throws his arms around her, hugging her tightly. She's totally confused by the sudden affection, unaware that to him, seeing her again after so long is overwhelming. You see, Belinda had been his personal maid since childhood. Through all the chaos he caused, she was the one who stuck by his side. But after his family's downfall, she vanished, and he never thought they'd meet again. Now, with her in front of him, he feels like he has to be honest. So he drops a bombshell. He tells her a catastrophe is heading straight for Peridium and admits that he actually died and came back to life. Naturally, Belinda brushes it off. She agrees the orcs nearly killed him, but she refuses to believe his bizarre tale. He tries to explain further, but she just scolds him for being reckless. Realizing she won't believe him no matter what, he gives up. Belinda then shifts the topic, reminding him of the upcoming festival, something he would have missed if he'd stayed injured. That catches Gislen off guard. Seeing his blank expression, she reminds him that Lady Elena has been looking forward to going with him. It's the perfect opportunity for the siblings to reconnect. Suddenly, Gislen remembers his festival. In his past life, he never got to enjoy it. It was around this time that something traumatic had happened. So when he asks how much time is left, she tells him it's next week. He has a week to prepare. But this isn't just about a festival. In his previous life, this exact day marked a tragedy that haunted him forever. On the day of the festival, His sister Elena was supposed to die. Right on cue, Elena walks into the room. Gislin instantly pulls her into a hug, catching her completely off guard, blushing. She accuses him of playing some weird prank. She doesn't realize how real his feelings are. He's simply overwhelmed to see her alive. But since he won't let go, Elena ends up forcefully pulling herself away, leaving his weakened body swaying under the pressure. Turns out she's had some serious strength. From her reaction, it's clear the two siblings don't exactly have a warm relationship. Elena bluntly says she's only here because Belinda asked her come. Apparently, there's some past grudge. Elena still remembers the time he insulted her. Gislin, clueless at first, eventually realizes that, yeah, he was exactly a great brother in his past life. Honestly, he was kind of an underscore, so he does something shocking. He apologizes. Both Belinda and Elena are stunned. Gislin admitting fault? That's unheard of. They joke that maybe he got hit in the head too hard by the orcs and knocked something loose. But Gislin quickly shuts that down, saying he really did get them. Right then, another wave of pain hits, and he doubles over. Elena doesn't miss the chance to poke fun, clearly enjoying the moment. It's obvious who came out worse in that fight. But Gislin doesn't mind. Even with her sarcastic comments, he's just glad to see them being exactly the way he remembers. There's something comforting about it. And in that moment, he can't help but think, why did the Olm waste so much time on things that didn't matter? During the upcoming festival preparations, Gislin had turned down Elena's offer to attend together, using the raid squad incident as an excuse. That ended up being the last time he ever saw her. Not long after, Elena and her bodyguards were found brutally torn apart. Gislin still regrets not being there for her when it mattered most. Suddenly, a knock interrupts the moment. Two knights appear at the door, Elena's bodyguards. The one with dark brown hair is Jamal, and standing behind him is Philip. Elena questions their presence, since they were told to wait outside. One of them apologizes and explains that the servants have requested her to supervise the festival preparations. This catches Gislin off guard. He doesn't understand why Elena needs to be involved in that. Belinda looks disappointed at his reaction and reminds him of the worker shortage in Peridium. Even someone like Elena has to pitch in. It's only now that Gislin realizes this, since he never really paid attention to such things before. But now that he's here, he offers to help. His little sister is visibly shocked, and both girls start to wonder if he might have actually been knocked in the head or something. Soon, they reach the festival site, where everyone's busy setting up their stalls. But when they hear that Gislin wants to help, a strange unease creeps in. His sister keeps trying to push him away, saying the best way he can help is by not getting in the way or causing trouble. But Gislin refuses to leave her alone. After all, Elena's body was discovered near the slums, far from the festival location. Someone must have either lured her out or dragged her there. He wants to make sure nothing like that happens again, and for that, he needs to fully understand the castle's layout. Just then, a knight runs in calling for Gislin. It's old man Fergus, out of breath but clearly emotional. He starts crying, admitting how scared he was after hearing about the orc attack. Gislin's sister jumps in too, pointing out how oddly he's been acting lately. She thinks it might be best if Fergus just takes him back. Seeing no other choice, Gislin agrees, but requests to be taken to the abandoned training field in the castle instead. Fergus, puzzled, asks why. Gislin simply says he wants to train. Though unsure what the young master is planning, the old man doesn't press him further and leads him to the training hall. As Gislin steps inside, the first thing that strikes him is how well kept the training hall is. Far better than he ever imagined. It's the perfect spot for him to train, and the equipment is way more advanced than anything he ever came across during his mercenary days. The old man explains that they've kept the place in shape just in case Gislin ever wanted to return. He'd always believed Gislin would eventually overcome whatever inner battle he was fighting. That genuine concern makes Gislin pause. He never realized how much the old man had been trying to support him. It hits him hard. He feels a wave of guilt for not noticing it sooner. Quietly, he pats the old man's shoulder and says something half joking, half serious. Dying sucks, so he might as well try living a while longer. The old man, as usual, is baffled hearing him talk like He's already crossed over to the afterlife. But Ghislain just shrugs and admits it. Yeah, he did die and came back. Not that the old man buys any of it. Without dwelling further, Ghislain turns his focus back to training. He dismisses the old man, telling him he can leave now. Watching Fergus show him so much respect makes Ghislain reflect on how he's always treated those around him like enemies. But now, looking back, he realizes he was just being narrow-minded. Still, he can't get distracted. There's serious work ahead. In his past life, he heard that Elena's death was orchestrated by a lord from a neighboring territory. That one act dragged Peridium into a war that ultimately led to its destruction. Her death was the first domino in the fall of his house, and now he's determined to fix everything, starting right here. First priority, rebuild his body. Time's short, but if nothing else, he needs to gain control of his mana. In this world, mana is a mystical force that allows humans to surpass their limits. Most people struggle to even sense or absorb it, but for Ghislain, even in the middle of chaotic battles, that part came naturally. He starts bundling the mana particles from the air, weaving them together like spinning thread. With countless battles under his belt, maybe even tens of thousands, forming a mana core is second nature to him. But if it were really that easy, he wouldn't be one of the top 7 strongest individuals in the land. Drawing from a half-burn magic book and tapping into the natural mana core all humans possess, Ghislain manages to forge not just a second but a third core. He links them into a complex mesh of interconnected cores, forming a massive burst of energy. The effort takes a toll. Blood trickles from his nose and mouth, and sweat pours down his face. He's definitely hit his current limit. Back in his previous life, he had reached 5 cores. The entire technique is about generating an overwhelming force in a short time, but it guzzles mana at an insane rate. That's actually why he lost to Eden before. The guy showed up with a whole night order, while Ghislain was already running on empty. In a fair one-on-one, he would have crushed him. The technique might be unstable, but it's enough for now. This time, he's got a younger body, and all the time he needs to master it. And this time, Eden's head, it's his for the taking. As for the traitors backing House DeLine, the ones who helped ruin their homeland, they're going down, too. A week quickly goes by, and the long-awaited day of the festival finally arrives. Ghislain is all geared up, walking through town with steady, unshakable confidence. But as he moves along, he unexpectedly spots a sister, who looks surprised to see him. She's stunned, not just because he showed up to the festival, which he's never liked, but also because he's been acting strangely lately. All she's been hearing is how he's done nothing but train nonstop for the past week. Trying to play it cool, Ghislain brushes off her concern, casually reminding her that as the heir to a knightly family, training is simply a normal part of his life. But she doesn't let it slide so easily. She hits him with a harsh reminder that he's always despised the idea of becoming lord. That very attitude, she points out, was one of the main reasons he never got along with her father. Even though her words sting a bit, she walks away with a smile, clearly happy to see him finally stepping into the role he was meant to fill. Her comment lingers in Ghislain's mind, making him realize that his actions have already started shifting how people see him, and possibly even changing the course of his future. While major events may still play out the same, the small things are becoming harder to predict. And now using his knowledge of what's to come wisely has become his responsibility. He'll need to handle every situation with care. With that in mind, he's fully prepared to confront the ones who will kill his sister. For now, he sticks by Elena's side, staying alert. But after some time, she starts getting bored and complains that this year's festival feels just as dull as all the others. Meanwhile, Ghislain is lost in thought. The festival's almost over, and still nothing major has happened. This makes him wonder, could the future have changed simply because he stayed close to Elena? Just as that thought hits, her bodyguards appear. They suggest taking Elena to a livelier part of the festival, so she can enjoy herself